Did the Spurs go and chase Chris Paul, and who's going to the draft party?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff, the writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. I am glad to have you back. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're having a great end of the work week, and we're going to wrap up right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, this episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. You got to go check out Bird Dogs right now. Why? Well, because you get yourself a free custom Yeti cup. Yes, free custom Yeti cup simply by going to Bird Dogs. You want to go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Use promo code LockedOnNBA to get that Yeti cup. Hey, what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be looking at, Chris Paul. Hey, the Spurs need a point guard, right? They need an upgrade. And all signs are pointing that he could be on his way out of Phoenix. Should the Spurs chase him? Why or why not? Spurs are having a big bash to celebrate the 2023 NBA draft. And you know who they're going to pick, and you are invited. We're going to talk about that and reminisce about old. Look for everybody. I'm old, okay? I remember when the Hemisphere Arena was just one level. Yes, I'm old. But anyway, the point is, we're going to go walk down memory lane, remember the old times with our guest that's going to bring him on. He is Michael Jimenez. You know him, you love him. He is back right here on Locked On Spurs. Jimenez, welcome back to Locked On Spurs.
Dude, I'm glad to be back, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. By the way, I know you changed your Twitter handle. So what's your new one?
Yeah, it's now MJ Acquired Taste. So
I just wanted you to say it. That's all. I just wanted you to say that last portion.
It was either going to be that or Skip Jimenez, and I just couldn't do it, man. I couldn't call myself Skip Jimenez. That's what Pledger calls me, but I couldn't call myself that.
You know, you were on the phone with me when you decided to change your Twitter handle, and I was just rattling off things left and right. I was like, "What about Mike? This Jimenez? This?" Let me tell you, everybody, Mike shot down all my ideas.
A lot of them.
He shot them all down.
Yeah, you wanted something.
I was like, "Oh, you batted 100%."
You were like Chancla this and Chancla that. I was like, no. Someone called in a while back and referred to me as the Acquired Taste, and that seems to be the thing that people have remembered the most over the past couple of years, the Acquired Taste, flip-flopper, and things like that. It's all funny, but yes. I had to choose one, and I went with Acquired Taste.
Well, I am glad you are back right here on Locked On Spurs. So, by the way, everybody, you want to stay tuned to the end of the show. Jimenez is going to give you kind of a life update and tell you, I think all of San Antonio knows what happened to Jimenez. And he's going to dive into that, why he's no longer with San Antonio Sports Star. And I'm more excited to hear about his future plans, which possibly could start Monday. We'll let Jimenez talk about that. We'll give him the mic in just a few minutes. But Mike, let's go ahead and dive into this right now. So the Spurs heading into the offseason, especially after they won the lottery, they're going to draft Wemby. We need an upgrade at point guard. We got to do that. Trey Jones, he's good, but he's not there. And lo and behold, reports come out that Chris Paul could find his way out of Phoenix. Let's pro and con this. First of all, I got to know, are you pro upgrade? Are you fine with Trey Jones? And if you are pro upgrade or, pro Chris Paul, let us know why or why not you think the Spurs should chase Chris Paul.
I am pro upgrade. I like Trey Jones. I still want Trey Jones on the team, so I'm not going to bash him. I think he would make an ideal backup point guard. Actually, a very, very good backup point guard. He had shown flashes last season of being able to put up 17 and 8, those types of games out there. Not a very efficient player offensively, but very good assist to turnover ratio. So he's a good player to have on there. So he's efficient in other ways, not so much in scoring. But the upgrade to Chris Paul is interesting because the first time I heard that, I thought to myself, you've got to be kidding me. This is the dumbest, stupidest thing I've ever heard. And as the hours keep going by, I'm starting to talk myself into it.
I knew it. I knew it. Are you flip-flopping? Are you flip-flopping on yourself?
Well, it's not a flip-flop if you did not publicly say something, But I'm flip-flopping in my mind as to all of this. So there's a lot of reasons why I like the idea. Okay, first of all, you need to have a veteran presence on this team if they're going to make a run at anything. Okay, so have a veteran presence out there. They have a need for point guard. Pop is not expecting a lot of players to go out there and play 82 games.
Right.
Chris Paul has had a variety of different injuries over the years, from quad to hamstring to shoulder. So he would come into San Antonio knowing that he's only going to play 50 to 55 games anyway.
Right.
And on top of that, only 1 year's guaranteed. The Spurs do need to spend money this year because under the new rules, if they spent money like they did last season, they wouldn't get their share of the luxury tax. So because of that, they need to spend it on somebody. They can't just sit there and offer $5 and $6 and $7 million contracts. Somebody's got to get paid, and that's the way the new rules work. So who else is going to come out here? Is it going to be a Chris Middleton? Is it going to be a Van Vliet? Is it going to be a player that is of a high caliber? No, it probably won't be. So a CP3 coming in to work with Keldon, to work with Devin Vassell, to work with Wemby and Sohan, I think that is a pretty good team out there. You need to bring Trey Jones back, though, because you know he's going to break down. He'll be load managed 15 games, and he'll get hurt 15 games, and he'll be useless in the playoffs because he's always hurt in May. But I have talked myself into the idea, knowing that it's only a one-year deal.
I am not pro Chris Paul. No, I think the Spurs are fine where they are right now. I've been on record on Locked On Spurs saying this team should run it back at point guard to just try it out. Re-sign Trey Jones. If it ain't working past the trade deadline or near the trade deadline, try to make a move. Now, look, Chris Paul will probably be gone by now, and, shucks. But it's not a complete loss. He's 38, 39 years old. He's in the back end of his career. First of all, I don't think he's even coming to San Antonio. I don't think he wants to be part of a rebuild at this point of his career. I even don't think the attraction of playing under Popovich and playing next to Wemby is still enough for him. He's going to go ring chasing. So, I think all signs are pointing to him likely landing in Los Angeles, enjoying, LeBron James out there in the Lakers. But if the Spurs do make a push for him, I just think you bring in a guy that is not reliable physically. They always say the best ability is availability. Yeah. He ain't available. He is not available. Look, it's not to say the Spurs are going to make a deep playoff push, but even though the numbers show that wherever he goes, the team sees a spike in wins the next season, like a dramatic one. But when it counts, he's not there. And the Spurs are not going to go chasing a title. They're not going to win it all. Do I think his addition could push them past the play-in? I think it could. But he's also ball dominant. He's going to need the ball. I like Trey Jones because he's not ball dominant. He's a pass first guy. He doesn't need touches. Chris Paul's going to demand touches. So in theory, I get what you're saying, Jimenez, but I think down the road it may be a bad idea.
I don't think that Chris Paul should come into any situation, whether it be San Antonio or LA, and expect to be ball dominant. He is past his prime when it comes to his skills. Really, he's out there to be a player coach. And that's where working with Trey Jones might be beneficial, where if they split time, you would see Trey Jones grow as a player.
Right.
And it's having him there, being able to pick that brain. And a lot of people are out there saying, well, Jimenez, the Spurs have a lot of people there who he could pick brains from. They have Tim and Tony and Manu. But most the Spurs have are big guys. The Sean Elliott's of the world, the David Robinson.
Right.
The Spurs have always had really good big guys on the court. Having a Chris Paul out there for one season, I think would pay huge dividends for a Trey Jones, provided that they bring Trey Jones back.
But would he even want to waste away? I don't want to say waste, but I guess use one of his remaining seasons in the league in a rebuilding situation.
Well, maybe
he doesn't have time. I mean, he's not a cat. He doesn't have 9 lives left. He may have 8 left. So I just don't see it factoring in coming to San Antonio for him.
Maybe the aspirations aren't necessarily ring chasing. Maybe the aspiration is to be a head coach one day. And what better coaching tree than to be part of Pop's coaching tree? So if that's the aspiration, he can maybe start to pivot as from a player to a coach if that's something that he wants to do. The Spurs got to pay somebody, and I hate to say it, but that's just the realities of the new rules of the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah,
they have to pay somebody.
Yeah.
So I would much rather pay somebody who could be a very good role model for players, the young guys that we have on this team, fill in that gap of point guard. But if the opposite happens and Tre Jones comes back, I don't want people to think that I'm like anti-Tre Jones coming back. And the idea of, just running it back is not a bad idea either. But what I'm saying is I can live with both worlds. If Chris Paul decides not to come to San Antonio, the 5, 10, 15, 20% chance that is, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. No, if they're gonna bring the band back together again and say we're gonna figure this out with these 5 guys, okay. But then my question is who's the 6th man, 7th man, 8th man, and who are we paying to be that guy?
Right. Yeah. There's so much to digest about Chris Paul, and maybe he could be wearing a Spurs uniform next season. We're going to continue talking about that when we get back. We're also going to talk about the big Spurs draft party. And Mike and I, we're old, and we remember the days when these draft parties were just crazy at the old Hemisphere Arena. We're going to talk to you about some of our memories, including, yes, Jimenez. Can you believe I was there for the Dwayne Shinsis draft party? I wasted my 2 hours for Dwayne Shinsis. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes right here on Locked On Spurs. Michael Jimenez. But before we get into all that, I want to talk to you about Bird Dogs. You want to go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA, enter promo code LockedOnNBA to get yourself a free Yeti-style tumbler with each and every order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. Look, you got to get yourself some Bird Dogs. They have shorts, they have sweatpants. They fit better. They're designed to fit slimmer through the thigh, giving you a very sculpted look. They're like Lululemons, but they just fit way, way better. I have myself a pair of those sweatpants, and let me tell you, they fit perfectly. But they also have the anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry each and every day, all day long. So, look, you want to go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA right now. Enter promo code LockedOnNBA for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You don't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Michael Jimenez, and we're talking about your silver and black. We're going to continue our talk about Chris Paul possibly coming to the Spurs. Then he gets them to draft day parties in San Antonio, and Mike and I are going to reminisce about that. Hey, Jimenez, let's go to wrap up our chat right here about Chris Paul. Ultimately, he ain't coming. Barring a miracle, I don't think he's going to be here. But you brought up something that kind of forces me to lean up a little bit like this, like, maybe it'll work. Because sure, the Spurs have veterans, Doug McDermott, Gorgie Deng, but they don't have a veteran floor general. Now, Popovich has always heaped praise on Chris Paul since his days in New Orleans. His days now with the Suns. Well, at least maybe not. But my point is this: what a perfect position to bring in a veteran and to guide this young team. I'm with you. If the Spurs decide to go with Chris Paul and chase him and spend that money that you brought up that they have to, sure. And if he comes here, great. But can you imagine that floor generalship that he's going to bring to this very, very young squad that, mind you, Jimenez, they're going to get even younger with a 19-year-old French big man coming?
It would be fun to watch. It really would be. And I was taking a look at the casino odds of the sportsbook odds of Chris Paul coming over. They're 15-1. Spurs have the 9th or 10th best odds out of all the teams. Sure. I think the Spurs have better odds than that simply because we have the cap space to absorb his contract. $30.8 million is what he's owed next season. Spurs could get upwards of 40, a little bit more than 40 million in cap space. So that being said, that makes it easier for the Spurs to absorb that type of deal. And the fact that it's a 1-year rental when it's all said and done is not that bad of a deal because the Spurs can't continue their youth movement thereafter. The floor general part of it all, though, is fascinating because, the Spurs haven't had a very, very good point guard since Tony Parker was in his prime. And it's been a while. And there's nothing better for a big man than to have a floor general out there knowing what he's doing, knowing how to bring the ball up the court, knowing how to get you into position and find your spots.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that Sohan can be a point forward, and I understand that Wemby can be a point forward / point center. I understand that they have the ability to bring the ball up the court. Then you have the combo guards like the Vassell's and the Branhams of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that they can do that. But I am of the belief, this is the old school in me, I want to have a true point guard out there at all times. People coming out and saying, well, the Celtics didn't, the Heat didn't, the Nuggets didn't, the Lakers didn't, and they made it all the way to the conference finals and the NBA finals. I'm like, but they also had Tatum and Brown and LeBron and
apples
Anthony
and
Davis,
oranges, right? Yeah,
all of that, and Jokic, right? So it wasn't because they didn't have a true point guard. It was because they had talented big guys out there. So the Spurs having a floor general out there is what I want. I know Chris Paul's not the long-term answer. Trey Jones might actually be that answer. Or if the Spurs move up and get a second pick in this year's draft,
I wonder who you're going to pick.
Well, then now we're talking. Now we're talking.
But then again, look, what's the difference then? You're still going to get your. Let's just say they go for Scoot.
Yeah,
and they try to swing at the fences and buy back into the first round there, the top 3-4 picks. You're still going to get yourself a ball dominant guy who's going to need his touches. And he's been on record that he said he wants to take over the league. He ain't going to do that by being a pass first kind of guy.
No. I see what you're saying, but the Spurs going after another point guard doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to be Scoot Henderson. It could be a different player out there that might be somewhere in the teens.
Kids.
Yeah, maybe not even that. You can probably go even further down the draft and find a pretty decent player out there. I know the Spurs have met with a lot of different players. Casey Wallace, for example, out of Kentucky. The Spurs have a thing about drafting players from Kentucky. And the Spurs have met with him in the past. So that guy's not going to fall to number 33 when the Spurs pick again. So why did they meet with him? I think they want to see if he's somebody that they would want to move back up into the draft for and utilize some of the draft capital they have. The Spurs cannot just keep all of their draft picks. They just can't. It's like mathematically impossible. They already have 3 first-round draft picks this past season, and they can't continuously have 1, 2. One is fine with Wemby this year. Maybe 2 is fine. But in future years, 2025, they're slated to have 3. There's a possibility of having 3 in 2024. And then you have multiple picks down the road for other trades the Spurs have done, plus all the second-round draft picks that the Spurs have, more than 20 in the next 5 or 6 years or so. So the Spurs can't just hoard all those picks. They did all of that in order to find a potential superstar. They lucked into it by winning the overall number 1 pick. So now the Spurs are sitting in a position where they can trade that capital for a star player. They can trade that capital to get back into the draft. I wouldn't mind if the Spurs did that. If they got rid of, 2 or 3 first rounders to suddenly find themselves at number 10 or number 12 in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs definitely have the war chest to get that done. They also have the war chest to get it done to woo Chris Paul. And if he demands a high salary, guess what? The Spurs can afford it. And it'll just, for them, it'll be a drop in the bucket. So, yeah, I mean, the Spurs have options, and that's what they set themselves up for. They have options. They want to buy back into that first round after the obvious pick, after number 1. They can do that. They want to roll the dice with Trey Jones and re-sign him and meet his financial demands, which probably are not going to break the bank. They can do that. So this is what the rebuild was all about, is options. And the Spurs have the option now. If they want to chase Chris Paul or not. 2 things, Jimenez, before we go into the draft party news here. 1, it's so weird that earlier you were like, if they want to have Wemby run the point, so be it. That just baffles me that we're in the era of the NBA where a guy his height can be the de facto point guard. That's just amazing. Spurs fans, look, you're about to get I mean, I can't even start. This guy is going to be amazing.
Watching those games in France right now. He's in the championship series over there starting this weekend. It's been so great because NBA TV or NBA.com has been airing the entire game. So it's beyond just getting highlights on YouTube at the end of the game. You see what he can do. And there's certain plays. There was a play that Wemby did in the last game that just dropped my jaw. First of all, he was doing a crossover that you typically see a 6-footer do.
Right. Yeah.
And then within the same play, back somebody up.
Wow.
And then shoot and knock it down from the elbow from 15 feet out and one. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, and I know people,
it's ridiculous.
People look at the stat lines and they go, 14 points, 16 points. I mean, what's the thing? Well, first of all, it's a 40-minute game as opposed to 48. So extrapolate that a little bit. And the court is smaller. There's a reason why NBA players suck on FIBA courts and under FIBA rules, and they have a hard time adjusting, is because the court is smaller in every dimension, and because of that, you see players like Luka Doncic and Giannis and Joker come out and say, "You do realize that the better players are in the NBA." But it's so much easier to score in the NBA, and also because the officials kind of look the other way when it comes to certain things in the NBA.
You would never do that, right?
No.
You would never do that as an official because people, you don't know, Mike Jimenez is an official.
I officiated basketball for 12 years, thinking about getting back into it this year, but all the way up to varsity basketball.
How much does it cost to get your favor?
I mean, typically something at the concession stands would work, some nachos at the end of the game or something like that.
There you go. Families have kids in San Antonio playing ball. Get Jimenez some nachos. Hey, and speaking of nachos, there'll probably be a lot of nachos being consumed later this month. June 22nd is going to be a pivotal day for the Spurs franchise history and for the city of San Antonio and for the fans. And everybody's invited to go to the AT&T Center for a draft watch party. We know they're going to pick. It's going to be Wemby. The Spurs have announced that it's a free event. It's basically come and fill it up, first come, first serve. And when they hit capacity, that's it. Everybody's done. It's going to be a good time, a lot of prizes. Obviously, the shops are going to be open. So who knows? They probably have those Wemby jerseys and T-shirts ready to go and on the shelves at the AT&T Center. But when we heard the news, Jimenez said, I wanted to run it back with you and go back in time. Kids, gather around. A couple of old guys are going to talk now.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Back in the day, kids, at the Hemisphere Arena, the Spurs used to host draft parties. Now, these were huge. They were big. I mean, they would fill up. And it's same concept. You go, it's for free. You can say whatever you want, first come, first serve. But Jimenez, when I read the draft watch party, my first memory was that I was in the upper deck. I don't know why I sat on the upper deck when the whole floor was available, but I sat on the upper deck, and I believe it was the Sean Elliott draft. David Robinson's there. The owners are there. They had Robinson on I think he was on a desk or something, like a stage. They announced the pick. Everybody's, draft Sean Elliott. Woohoo. Robinson gets up, throws his hands in the air, and now I'm clapping there. Next thing I know, I look up and I'm on the Jumbotron. Jimenez, I swear to God, I died. I took a dive. I dived. I saw myself and I went like this. No. And I just left out because I got so embarrassed to be on screen because I'm there going crazy as a kid. Like, we got Sean Elliott and everything. But no, they were fun. They were fun. And you've been to those Hemisphere arenas back in the day.
Dude, I was at the Sean Elliott one. Elliott one.
We probably, can you believe young Jeff and young Mike Jimenez may have crossed paths?
And it's so funny how it's like number 3 pick, and it's like, oh, you would think that they'd be out there shaking the commissioner's hands, but half the time they'd be at the Hemisphere Arena, already with the jersey on. It's like, how did this happen? From Cadillac Anderson and
Cadillac.
Beyond, there's so many different people that we've seen get drafted by the Spurs at the Hemisphere Arena. And I do feel a little bit old when it comes to that because those are glory days. I don't know if you remember, they had obstructed view seating over there. Sometimes you'd buy tickets and you'd be behind a pole.
They were like for $5. They were like $5 or $3, something like that.
Yeah. No, it was great times out there at the Spurs draft parties, and I have I've this year is going to be interesting because we already know who the number 1 overall pick is going to be. But the one thing that I've loved is that over the past week or so, you see Victor Wembanyama getting excited about San Antonio on Instagram, post with his posts and his stories and whatnot. He even showed a video from the Rue Pub, which is where I was at when the Spurs won the draft.
Right.
And for him to see that, I'm thinking to myself, a 19-year-old on the other side of the ocean, seeing how excited that we were that night a few weeks ago, and for him to repost that was amazing. And you can tell he's getting pumped up. He's getting ready for the draft. He knows where he's going. He knows where he's going to call home. And I can't wait for him to land here in the 210 and for us to embrace him.
So Jimenez, I'm supposed to, in my rundown, like tease the next episode, which is probably for Monday. Yeah. But you gave me a great segue right here, because on the next episode of Locked On Spurs, I actually brought in a French reporter from France to talk about how the French fans reacted to Wembanyama, more than likely going to San Antonio and more. And he told me some stories already, and I can't wait for you and everybody else to listen to that later on, at least next week on Locked On Spurs. But no, those draft parties were great. Jimenez, as much as I remember going to the Elliott and then the Cadillac Anderson one and the Dwayne Shinsis one, yes, I was there for Dwayne Shinsis. I don't know why, but I was there. You know what I remember most? How cheap the food was. And you know what? For kids that weren't around that time, the concession stands, you had to exit the Hemisphere Arena. Well, not literally like exit out and go out on the street, but the main stands, and they were the Hemisphere Arena used to have ramps. So that's how you used to get to your seat. They were orange. And every time you would go up and level off, there was a stand. Every time you go up, level off. And I remember Jimenez going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I got one of the best workouts ever as a kid, so just chowing down on that food. But yeah, again, the Spurs draft party is coming up later on this month. Spurs, we know who they're going to pick, but go celebrate. A little anticlimactic, Jimenez, but hey, I think after the pick is in, everybody's gonna be wondering what's their next move. Are they gonna buy?
No, I don't mind it being anticlimactic. I mean, keep in mind, a couple of years ago, I remember being at a bar. My wife, my wife and I were at her parents' house, and her parents didn't have the channel needed to watch the draft. So I bailed and I went to a bar nearby.
Bailed on your family.
And I looked up, and the Spurs draft Joshua Primo.
Oh no!
And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Jimenez, I was at Barclays that night, and I remember sitting in my media seat, and obviously I'm not expecting Primo. I know they had worked him out, but I didn't think he was going to go at 11. I had my feet up on the desk because nobody was around me. People were leaving their seats to go do interviews and whatnot. So I kind of had the whole media row to myself for a while, and I had my feet up on the desk. The commissioner comes out, makes the announcement about Primo, and I remember just sitting there stunned, my feet still on the desk, and then I sat up, I dropped my feet, and I said, "Did I just hear that? Yeah. Do I gotta go now? Was that the wrong pick?" My legs were like my legs fell asleep. I had to shake it off. I go to the room. And then the NBA says, "Oh no, Primo's not here. He didn't show up."
Yeah,
so great.
You thought you fell asleep, and it was suddenly the second round.
It was the second round. Yeah.
Most mock drafts had him as a second rounder.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, maybe the last pick in the first round. But
absolutely.
When you get a guy that's available at 30 and you want to get him in the early teens, you just got to do it, man. You just got to do it.
I guess so. Yeah. It's good. That's for a whole other episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, when we get back, we're going to turn the mic over to Jimenez. He's going to give you a life update. In case everybody knows, he is no longer with the San Antonio Sports Star. He's been sharing his feelings about it publicly. So then I'm not going to say anything here that he hasn't put out yet, but he's going to tell you his future plans. And he told me that he's only given about 20% of his true feelings about what happened. He's going to bump it up a bit in just a few minutes right here on Locked On Spurs with Michael Jimenez. But before we do all that, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Look, you want to go to FanDuel right now because it is the best place to go to, especially with the NBA playoffs and where the finals, I should say, well underway. They have this thing called the No Sweat First Bet, where you can win up to $2,500 right now. That's $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So they got great promotions. It's a safe, secure app. You get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on all the finals action than America's #1 sports book. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. You heard that right, $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA. FanDuel, the official sports book betting partner of the NBA. And not forget about our favorite place to go get coffee in San Antonio. That's Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. If you need a pick-me-up, if you need a caffeine fix, if you want to try the newest drink they got, the Alien, Mike, you wonder what's that's named after, right? They have it there. It's part of their Red Bull infused line. Basically, the Alien is Red Bull, obviously, kiwi and red apple mixed together. People have tried it already. They say it's great. Look, they have dairy alternatives as well. They have low caffeine drinks. They have caffeine drinks, that'll get you through the day. If you need to pick me up, you want to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Over 300 5-star reviews, cannot be wrong. You want to go there right now. So I talked about the Alien, but there's another drink that's very close to my heart, and Jimenez's heart as well too. For us 80s and 70s babies, we remember going to the old South Park Mall, Windsor Park Mall, Ingram Park Mall, and picking up an Orange Julius. Well, those days are gone, but they're back at Mudslingers. They brought it back. It's called the OGOJ. I'm given the honor to name it. Jimenez has tried it. He's given it a thumbs up. You like it, right, Jimenez?
Loved it.
Yeah, there you go. See, right there. See, first-hand testimonial. So,
and they're mini donuts, by the way. They're mini donuts. Amazing.
They got mini. I haven't had the mini donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to try that. But anyway, you want to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. And they're on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Pick a platform. They're there at Mudslinger STX. Life is too short for bland coffee. Well, now's the time we're going to turn the mic over to Jimenez. So the mic goes to Mike, basically. So let me just sum up real fast. Jimenez, correct me if I'm wrong. You're no longer with the San Antonio Sports Star. Earlier this week, you were informed that your services will no longer be needed. And what was odd was you and I were on the phone as you were driving up to work. And you called me minutes after, and I didn't believe you, to tell me what had happened. But you had an outpouring of support, fans across San Antonio, the globe, really, wishing you the best. A lot of fans are kind of upset about the move that was made. And you've been vocal. You've been sharing your feelings about it. You had a video when it happened that you were thankful for the opportunity, and you thanked the fans for tuning in. Then you follow that up with a video where you admitted that you were angry, that you woke up angry, you were upset. Then you fast forward to yesterday, you tweeted out, "Oh, I see what's really going on," and you blatantly say cryptic tweet. Jimenez, a lot of people have been wondering, above and beyond what you've shared. So I'm going to minimize myself. My video's going to go away for a little while, everybody. And I'm going to give it to Jimenez right now. He's going to give you a little bit more insight, and not just about what happened. Yes, I know everybody wants to hear, more details, but the exciting news of what Jimenez has in store. So I'm going to go away for a bit. Jimenez, take it away. Tell us in detail what you can, what you feel comfortable with. And it's all yours.
Yeah, they sometimes say that there's 3 sides to a story, but honestly, I believe that there's only one side when it comes to it. I got let go on Tuesday, and Jeff, you were the first person I called when it happened. And it's because you had been on my show before, and the show I was very proud of. I was very proud of halftime. Halftime kind of went away at the end of December, and I thought that I was on the trajectory of doing something different, special here in San Antonio, and I got reined in big time. And it was strange because I would get good ratings, I would get good reviews, I would get praise from people, and was the most read person there at San Antonio Sports Star and all of that stuff. Whenever I would write columns, had the most callers on my show compared to the other shows, and I was very proud of where I was going because my show was different, and I wanted it to be even more different. I wanted to have more than just a sports aspect of it all. But in radio, you're not able to call your own shots because you have several people in your ear, whether it be a program director, a consultant, the sales department, management, or whatever the case may be, other people that are associated with the station. And they all get in your ear and they never make a decision as to what direction the show should go in or the station should go in. I was doing something different. And what I liked about my show was the fact that oftentimes my takes and the arguments that I would create on my show, just based on my personality and my takes, nothing contrived, would spur debate on the other shows on the station. And it would spur debate on Twitter and whatnot. And I found that to be exciting. But then, I was forced to have a co-host that was difficult to get along with at first, but we started getting decent towards the end there. It was different. My show changed, and I was having limitations as to the sports that I could talk about, the topics that I could talk about, the pop culture aspect. It was like, no, it's sports, and that is boring. And I was always told that podcasts, we're not doing podcast radio. And I'm like, well, why not? Because people listen to podcasts. People consume it. People have a short attention span to one topic, and I like it better to bounce around. And some of the people that are at that station are going to be lifelong friends. I adore James Pledger, and he got a new show that's going to be premiering on Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and he's the hardest working man that I know of in the industry, and I love James Pledger. Joe Reinagle was one of the first to reach out to me and basically express his feelings and how upset he was about the decision. And later on, I think back about phone calls that I got from Jason Minix, and then just past conversations that I had with Rob and I had with Rudy. They're my guys. They'll be lifelong friends. And when it was a local show, when it was locally managed, I had the free reign to do what I wanted to do, and they trusted me. The second that it moved over to 94.1, and it was a bigger footprint, and it was a regional show at that point, I didn't have the I was under the microscope. And now that when I look back at past conversations and I look back at past things that were said to me and things that were requested of me, I should have known from the beginning that my days were numbered 6 months ago. And it didn't matter how good my show got. It didn't matter the ratings. It didn't matter the notoriety. It didn't matter how good I was getting. It didn't matter. I was done for. And my days were numbered from day one. And then I am getting, from the rumor mill, things that are going on and who my future replacement may be. And I'm not going to elaborate on that, but it all makes sense. It all makes sense. I was not the priority there the last 6 months. But, I got to move on. And I have no ill will or bad feelings about anybody over there. It just sucks when it happens, and I should have known better. I should not have been so surprised as I was. And I think that if I had had the ability to do what I wanted to do, I would have been better off and had a better show. and I was not allowed to do that. So, licking my wounds, a little bit shocked by it all. I expressed the fact that I was relieved in a sense because, I kind of knew that it was coming. But long story short, the outpouring of affection and love and all the kind words, which is basically 98% of all the comments that were received on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the number of DMs that I got, having the San Antonio Express News reach out to me, having other publications reach out to me that I turned down interviews from, having people from Hispanic Journalists Associations statewide or locally coming in and going, there's a problem, Michael. And I didn't want to do that because I don't think that they got rid of me because of race or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not going to play the race card. But when people put a bug in my ear and go, you do realize that you were the Hispanic from San Antonio.
Yeah.
And
you
there's not a lot.
You started out winning the contest, you're the Rock
right,
contest.
And that's one of the reasons why I wasn't taken seriously. By the way, was the fact that I was a contest winner. I didn't have I didn't go to small markets and make my way up. Doing radio just kind of came a little bit naturally to me, though I did have broadcasting experience. I was a TV news reporter for several years,
right?
But that was 15, 20 years ago. But the fact of the matter is that, my days were numbered a long time ago. Man, the powers that be that come out of other cities don't know what San Antonio wants or needs. And it's just so bizarre because I kind of think that the shows were better a while back, to be honest. But I'm looking at the future, and I'm looking at the fact that people are reaching out to me, especially a lot of Latino journalists, people coming at me from a lot of his, people like me, from San Antonio, from Texas. And they're like, dude, we identified with you. We liked your show.
Yeah.
And even though people who proclaim to hate my show came up and were showing a lot of love. And it was overwhelming. The video I posted had 75,000 views. My second video, nearly 50,000 views. And it spurred me to understand that I need to keep going.
Sure.
And whether that be starting something new, another station, something needs to keep me going. And the fact of the matter is that I want it to be a quick turnaround. And that quick turnaround is going to begin on Monday.
Wow.
And going to call myself, Mike Jimenez, the Acquired Taste. And I want to do a show that is going to be fun. It's going to be a podcast that is going to be simulcasted on, Facebook Live. It's going to be on, Twitter. It's going to be on a variety of different platforms, and then ultimately uploaded onto, the Spotifys of the world. And people kept asking me, you kept asking me, Jeff, why Monday? Why so fast?
Yeah. I actually, the little behind the scenes peek, I was actually advocating Mike to take it easy for a while. I said, Mike, maybe you just think about this for a while, don't rush into anything. But you don't know Mike like I know Mike. Mike and I, we're close, very, very close. We're very, very close, but I knew it was going to fall on deaf ears because if Mike is focused on something, he's going to get it done. And if his focus is Monday, it's going to be Monday. So what's in store for Monday, possibly?
Yeah. So we're setting up a YouTube page because it's also going to be simulcast on YouTube as well. We're creating the pages. I'm probably over the weekend going to do a trial run to make sure that everything is on the up and up. There'll probably be kinks along the way, but the show's going to be about an hour long. I want to provide daily content for an hour long, 45 minutes to an hour long, basically the lunch break from 12 to 1, right? Most people consumed my show in bites of 30 to 45 minutes anyway. So do a 45-minute to an hour long show. And I wanted it to be back on Monday because the outpouring of love from people coming at me and saying, dude, we're going to miss your show. Sports Star messed up in getting rid of you. From other people saying we need a Latino representation in San Antonio, talking about X, Y, and Z. It kind of got me fired up. And coming back on Monday is my way of saying getting knocked down, but I'm getting back up right away. And I know that there's going to be a need for sponsors. I know there's going to be a need for all that. But I figure if the hardcore people who enjoyed enjoyed my old show, I'm hoping that they'll take this journey with me, because this show is going to be different. It's not going to be halftime. It's going to be halftime 2.0. It's going to be halftime on steroids, the way that I wanted to do the show. And it's going to be, we can argue. Here's the thing about it. We can argue about sports all day long, and that's great, right? Should the Spurs tank or not? Team tank won, baby. We should have those arguments. But at the end of the day, we live in a society where it's left, right. We live in a society where people are at each other's throats. But the thing about it is that sports can unite, and there can be topics out there that unite us as people, whether we come from the north side, west side, south side, or east side, or they come from the hill country or Uvalde or Poteet or Pleasanton or wherever. There are things that we can do to unite. People want to know how to improve their lives and how to be better at their lives.
Right.
And it's not going to be a TED Talk or anything like that, but it's going to be, what I'm envisioning is something that is going to be where it's like, I'm glad I heard this, because I've always wanted to know how I can improve this part of my life, whether it be my finances, whether it be real estate, whether it be dating, whether it be how to be a better boyfriend, how to get over a divorce, how to do. There's certain things that are out there that I want to do. So basically, I want to do a Monday through Friday show. 50 to 60% sports, have a little bit of pop culture, little things like that, San Antonio type stuff. And then maybe that stuff where it's secondary, like how to be better at certain things, would probably be a Wednesday evening type of thing. And it's not going to be me doing it. I want to interview people who are ballers in this town, people who are good at what they do. Teach us how to be better at what we do.
Right.
Teach us, don't preach to us. And I'm excited, man, because you don't need to have a radio show to have a following.
No, you
and don't. I do realize that, one last thing, I do realize that the people that have reached out to me, some of them have come out personally saying that that my show helped them put a smile on their face when they were going through a very depressing time.
Oh, wow.
They may not have agreed with me, but they thought I was silly and funny, and they went along with the ride. And it's my goal to do it at noon, because that's when my show was originally. And I want it to be where you all can just think that I just went on vacation.
Okay.
And I'm back. And we have to get going on Monday.
Well, looking forward to that. For those of y'all who are watching on YouTube right now, we have Mike's Twitter handle across the bottom right now. So make sure you follow him there. But it is on Twitter at MJ Acquired Taste. For those OGs of the halftime show that Mike used to host, you will know where that came from. And so much more. No, Jimenez, I was shocked when you called me to tell me the news. Should we tell everybody my reaction when you called me?
Yeah, because I was driving down 35, and you essentially thought that I was pulling your leg, and I'm like, dude, my show should have been starting. You hear that I'm driving.
I know what, actually, Jimenez, I thought you were, because I had asked you when you were driving in, am I going to be on the show today? And you said no, but you said you're going to be on later on this week. And when you called back and I saw your number on my phone, my first thought was, something probably came up. He needs a guest. So, Jimenez, I got your back. I'll join you. And then when you told me, it took me about 3 times of me asking Mike, are you being for real? Are you serious? What? Yeah.
Quit messing with me.
Quit messing with me. And then you told me, and I was like, whoa. And then it was real. And then you posted the video on your Twitter, and I was like, yeah. But, and I like that fact that everybody just showered you with some love, there for you. The most part, everybody was pulling for you. Everybody was stunned just as much as I was. But the good news is that they know that you're coming back. It was just a short little hiatus. you'll be back stronger, better, doing the show that you want to do. And it's also, very big of you too, to give shout outs to your former colleagues at the Star, from Pledger, to Thompson, to Reinagel. So yeah, good on you. Good on you. And that's what I like about Jimenez. He's a good sport. He's a good friend. But don't push him. Don't push Jimenez, because he will come back stronger than ever. But hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs chasing Chris Paul, or at least possibly chasing Chris Paul? Should they do it? Should they not? Why? Or you should let us know right now. You going to the Spurs draft party, and are you old like us? Remember going to those old school Hemisphere Arena draft parties? Well, let us know. You can let me know on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone, right there on your screen. You can let Jimenez know on Twitter. It's right now, it's flashing on the screen, but in case you can't see it, it's at MJ Acquired Taste. That's ACQUIREDTASTE. Make sure you do that right now. He is back this coming Monday. I am crossing my fingers. He's going to ask me to join his show. Hopefully I can be the inaugural one. Jimenez, I'm glad you took some time out to share a little bit more of what you're going through, what you're feeling, and your future plans. And I think all of San Antonio is behind you from the outpouring we saw, close to 100%. And we thank you. You guys are the everydayers. Next week's show, you probably heard earlier, we're going to have a French reporter from a very major outlet in France. He's going to come on and tell you all about the reaction in France, what French fans are saying about Wembanyama coming to San Antonio, and much, much more, including thoughts on Tony Parker, Boris Diaw. The list goes on and on. That's going to probably be on Monday. And follow us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Pick a platform. We're there. Ken's 5 Plus app. We are part of the Locked On NBA network. But for Mike Jimenez, the Acquired Taste, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.